Here are the top stories for today, May 20, 2022. Malacanang said it is now up to the Comelec to prove the integrity of the elections. Both the Senate and the camp of Bongbong Marcos Jr. believe that the Supreme Court cannot stop vote canvassing. Government agencies have funds to pay night differential in salaries. And media workers who are applying for a gun permit are now exempted from threat assessment. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Despite doubts cast by several groups following the recently concluded 2022 polls, the palace said it is now up to the Commission on Elections to prove the integrity of the elections. Malacanang, however, maintained its stance that there have been no voting irregularities nor cheating. President Rodrigo Duterte earlier said the people must respect the election outcome and give a chance to the new officials-elect. The International Observer Mission of the International Coalition for Human Rights of the Philippines, meanwhile, said this year's elections were not free and fair. The group mentioned alleged red tagging against several candidates and some violent incidents considered as political attacks. To recall, almost 1,900 vote-counting machines have malfunctioned nationwide. Senate President Vicente Soto III warned of a possible constitutional crisis once the Supreme Court granted the petitions to suspend the canvassing of votes for the presidential post. The lawmaker explained that Congress cannot meet beyond the June 3. Soto insisted a possible holdover would be a crisis, considering that Congress is the body mandated for the canvassing. Minority Leader Franklin Drilon also said the Supreme Court cannot stop the Congress from performing its constitutional duty to canvass votes and proclaim winners. Likewise, the camp of presumptive President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. insisted the High Court has no jurisdiction over the congressional mandate. Marcos oppositions have earlier elevated their petitions to SC, praying for the front-runner's disqualification and cancellation of candidacy. Party list winners may be proclaimed next week, according to the Commission on Elections. Comelec acting spokesperson John Rex Laudianco said the proclamation may be done following the scheduled special elections in Lanao del Sur. The Comelec is eyeing to proceed on proclamation by Wednesday next week.
At this point, ma'am, anything is possible. Although we're confident na yung pong Lanao del Sur matatapos naman natin, so it's really not an issue. Yung Shanghai na lang po. We really hope na yung 1,991 will not affect. But if the 1,991 will really be a factor, ang tingin naman po namin nasa bottom part yan.
Meanwhile, the poll body also reminded candidates to submit their statement of contributions and expenditures on or before June 8. Laudianco noted winners cannot assume their post if they have not submitted their SOSE.
Masugid po namin pinaalala. Alam ko naman po, yung po sa mga veterano ng kandidato, alam nyo na po ang patakaran dito. Doon naman po sa mga bagong kandidato, whether nanalo po kayo or natalo, lahat po ng kandidato, lahat po ng registered political parties ay required mag-submit ng statement of contribution and expenditures.
Malacanang is confident that the country is safe and secure once President Rodrigo Duterte steps down from office. Acting Presidential Spokesperson and Communications Secretary Martin Andanar said this is in contrast to the report of the Commission on Human Rights, or CHR, a failure of the administration to protect human rights. Andanar dismissed the report as a rehash of old issues and that foreign nationals visiting the country are even seeing how safe our streets and communities are. Andanar also said the crime rate in the country has dropped since Duterte assumed the presidency in 2016. He said Duterte is even enjoying a high satisfaction performance, approval, and trust ratings at the end of his presidency. In its 48-page report completed in April, the Commission on Human Rights, or CHR, says the Duterte government has incited a culture of impunity in the conduct of anti-drug operations. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority now gears up for the rainy season as flooding will likely be experienced in several parts of Metro Manila. Metro Manila Crisis Monitoring and Management Center head engineer June Bautista assured the public they have been intensifying efforts even before the onset of the rainy season. Bautista noted they have secured an adequate cleanup on creeks, especially in flood-prone areas, to avoid spill-ups in case a high volume of rain comes. First responders are also ready with proper equipment in place in case of heavy rainfall. The MMDA has been keen on implementing alert level status in coordination with several other agencies to ensure swift response operations. House Majority Leader Martin Romualdez on Thursday said the next Congress will prioritize the passage of presumptive President Bongbong Marcos's legislative agenda, which includes a stimulus package to help the country recover from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Romualdez, a contender for the speakership post in the 19th Congress, said they are eyeing the passage of a bayanihan type of legislation to be called Bayan Bangon Muli or BBM. The BBM stimulus package will allow the incoming president to harness the resources available during the closing period of the 2022 and pass measures that are needed for the pandemic. Lawmakers are also eyeing a bill resetting the December barangay elections to save 8 billion pesos that can be used to fight the pandemic. Meantime, Romualdez said the current 18th Congress still has a pending task to fulfill, which is to canvass and proclaim the winning president and vice president. The canvassing will begin on May 24 at 2 p.m. and from May 25 to 27, it will be scheduled from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Still ahead, the Department of Budget and Management assures government agencies have funds for night differential pay of employees. And an alumnus of the University of the Philippines confirms the recruitment activities of CPP-NPA in campuses. We'll be back after a quick break. Keep it here on the PNA Newsroom.
Hi everyone, James Deacon here. The COVID-19 vaccines are finally here, and the government wants to make sure the vaccines reach us. So let's do our part by making sure that we get registered to be included in the vaccination list of our LGU. You can register right in the comfort and safety of your own homes through your LGU's online registration platform. And you can also register on-site in the vaccination venues or through your barangay. Remember, getting vaccinated is the first step towards ending this pandemic. So let's do our part as disciplined citizens. Bida ang may disiplina. Magpakarehistro at magpabakuna para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bayan.
Government agencies have the funds for their employees' night differential pay. This is the assurance of the Department of Budget and Management, or DBM. During the public briefing aired over PTV4, DBM Bureau Director Gerald Handa said government agencies need to get the funds for this expense from their personal services budget, but it can also be sourced from the national budget if they lack financing.
May mga budget na po yung mga agencies para po dito sa kukunin po sa personal services po nila, at kung may kakulangan ay maghahanap po ng pondo sa GAA.
President Rodrigo Duterte remains hopeful to sustain the administration's thrust for digitalization, including the modernization of the Philippine Postal Corporation. The chief executive remains optimistic that the public will enjoy a more seamless transaction even beyond his term. Duterte himself lauded the PhilPost coming up with an innovative postal card, mobile application, new website, and an automated machine for letter sorting. The president also proudly showed his new high-technology postal ID, which has its financial features.
In fulfillment of this administration's ease of doing business agenda, Beyond my term, I hope that we will constantly explore innovations and strategies that will further streamline, develop, and improve government services to the people with greater efficiency.
More local government units are coming up with measures against the new COVID-19 subvariant. The details from Stephanie Sevillano.
Contact tracing is ongoing for the possible contacts of 2 confirmed cases of the Omicron subvariant BA.2.12.1 in Iloilo. Governor Arthur Defensor Jr. said the provincial government will just execute the contact tracing and the protocols under Alert Level 1. He also orders intensified isolation and RT-PCR tests for possible close contacts. In Davao, the COVID-19 task force assured that the city has the capacity to address the threat of the new COVID-19 variants. Health officials said Omicron subvariant BA.2.12.1 has been detected in 14 individuals, of which 11 are foreign tourists, 2 are from Metro Manila and 1 from Palawan. The task force urged Davaoeños anew to get booster jabs as a vaccination turnout is still well below 20% of the fully vaccinated population. In Cagayan de Oro, Mayor Oscar Moreno has rejected proposals calling for stricter border controls. Moreno said a measure will not directly solve the spread of COVID-19, particularly with the new Omicron subvariant. Instead, Moreno maintains that COVID-19 vaccination is still the most effective way to fight the Omicron subvariant, aside from strictly adhering to the minimum public health standards. As of Wednesday, the city government recorded 92% vaccination coverage from the city's total target population. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Stephanie Sevillano.
Recruitment activities are still being carried out by the Communist New People's Army in the University of the Philippines in Mindanao. An alumnus confirmed the activity, responding to denials made by some of his classmates. In a Facebook post, former UP Mindanao student Choyax Kagape narrated that when he was then the election body chairperson of the student body, a teacher introduced him to subversive ideology. Kagape also claimed he knew some classmates and or other UP Mindanao students who went to the mountains without finishing school because they had already been recruited by the NPA. As of this writing, the post gained thousands of reactions and shares. Most of the netizens who commented on Kagape's post appreciated him for his bravery, while some offered corroborations about his claim, citing their own experiences with the school as well. The incoming administration is urged to strengthen and expand training for micro-enterprises for them to grow and make their businesses stable. Pure Gold Vice President for Operations Antonio de los Santos said the next administration should invest more in educating micro, small, and medium enterprises or MSMEs, especially the sari-sari store owners, on how to start their businesses properly and how to sustain their venture. De Los Santos said many Filipinos who were displaced from their jobs during the pandemic have ventured into livelihood activities like opening sari-sari stores, noting that there are around 1.2 million sari-sari stores across the country. De Los Santos said there is a need to educate them on financial literacy, on ways on how to effectively manage their inventories, and making sure they understand how to run their business. He said there are trainings that can expand and sustain their business. More stories from the newsroom. The Presidential Task Force on Media Safety welcomes the exemption of journalists from the required threat assessment for gun owners. And Davao City bans poultry products from Luzon and other areas with cases of bird flu. Details ahead. Stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Paolo Medjones po para sa kampanyang Disiplina Muna na pinangungunahan ng DILG. Bakit ba kailangan magparehistro sa pagpapabakuna laban sa COVID-19? Mahalagang magparehistro dahil ito ang unang step sa pagpapabakuna laban sa COVID-19. May 3 pamamaraan upang makapagrehistro ang isang Pilipino na nais mabakunahan. Una, ang online registration sa inyong local government unit o LGU. Pangalawa, ang pagpunta sa mga vaccination centers at pagkuha ng registration form. At pakikipag-ugnayan sa mga pinuno ng barangay o sa mga barangay health center. Tandaan, online, sa mga vaccination site o sa mga barangay health centers ang pagpaparehistro sa pagpapabakuna kontra COVID-19. Muli ako po si Paolo Medjones, Disiplina Muna Ambassador na nagpapaalala, huwag matakot magpabakuna. Bida ang may disiplina. Magparehistro at magpabakuna para ligtas ang pamilya, ligtas ang bayan. Disiplinadong Pilipino ay rehistrado para maging bakunado.
The Presidential Task Force on Media Security welcomes the exemption of media practitioners from getting threat assessment for firearms licenses. PTFoMS Executive Director Undersecretary Joel C. Egco said it takes time and effort to undergo a threat assessment to get a gun permit. He noted that the assessment is already unnecessary since the jobs of media practitioners are dangerous, especially for those who were exposing corruption and abuse of power. EGCO also welcomed Republic Act No. 11766, signed by President Rodrigo Duterte on May 6, extending the validity of the license to possess firearms and ammunition from 2 years to 5 or 10 years. He finds the extension of permit to carry as a huge relief to gun owners. EGCO thanked Duterte for signing laws that recognize the importance of media practitioners in maintaining democracy. An education official said he is in favor of reviving the Youth Development Training and Citizens Army training in high school. DepEd Central Visayas Regional Director Salustiano Jimenez said these types of training mold the youth to become physically and morally resilient and equip them with necessary skills. He sees YDT and CAT as morale boosters as the service trainings on campuses will mold a nationalistic and patriotic citizenry. Jimenez also said this will equip the youth with the mechanisms to cope with the challenges in life and avoid being demoralized or being toppled down by crisis. Jimenez's remarks came amid talks on the revival of CAT in junior high school and Reserve Officer Training Corps for senior high school following the election of Davao Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio as presumptive vice president. Several local government units continue to implement health protocols to stop the spread of bird flu and African swine fever or ASF in their localities. More on this from Chris Mundo.
The city government of Davao has issued a temporary ban on poultry products from Luzon and other areas with reported cases of the highly pathogenic avian influenza or bird flu. A copy of Mayor Sara Duterte's executive order on the ban, dated May 13, was released to local media on Thursday. Further, the EO said those who are transporting game fowls, ducks, pigeons, and captured wild birds must secure a veterinary health certificate. It allows the transport of movement of game fowls from Davao City to other provinces, although the movement of game fowls back to the city is prohibited unless negative AI test result is taken from the area of origin. On the other hand, the city veterinarian's office said Davao remains free from bird flu. Meanwhile, Zamboanga City Mayor Maria Isabel Climaco Salazar advised local hog raisers to register for the city-initiated insurance program to secure an indemnity for every animal culled due to the African swine fever. Salazar said the city insurance package for domestic farm animals is a relaxed version of the DA's regular livestock insurance program. Earlier, 2 of the blood samples taken from hogs in Sitio Kanukutan, Barangay Pasonangka, and Barangay Manguso were found positive for ASF infection. Meanwhile, the Department of Agriculture in Bicol reported that more local government units in the region have been freed from ASF and have been removed from the quarantine list. DA5 spokesperson Emily Bordado said 10 municipalities and 3 cities in 4 provinces of the region are now ASF-free and have been upgraded from red to pink zone. Bordado added that 7 more municipalities are done with the Sentinel protocol but need to submit the required documents to be declared ASF-free. A total of 1,129 head Sentinel pigs have been distributed to 1,127 farmers. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Crismundo.
In our news overseas, health authorities in North America and Europe expressed concern over the spread of monkeypox after detecting dozens of suspected or confirmed cases since early May. Canada has reported it was investigating more than a dozen suspected cases of monkeypox. Spain and Portugal already detected more than 40 cases, while Britain and the United States also recorded several cases. The illness has infected thousands of people in parts of Central and Western Africa in recent years. Monkeypox is spread through contact with body fluids, sores, or shared items that have been contaminated with fluids or sores of a person with monkeypox. Most people recover from monkeypox within several weeks, and fatalities are rare. The World Health Organization, meanwhile, assured that they are in close coordination with the UK and European health officials. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. Malacanang said it is now up to the Comelec to prove the integrity of the elections. Both the Senate and the camp of Bongbong Marcos Jr. believe that the Supreme Court cannot stop vote canvassing. Government agencies have funds to pay night differential in salaries. And media workers who are applying for a gun permit are now exempted from threat assessment. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day, everyone.